Hey, what's going on? I'm Taylor. Welcome to my studio, Tay Pierre, which is pretty much like everywhere at this point. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about stencils. So I'm going to show you how to make two different kinds of stencils. There's the regular kind of stencil, and then there's something called like a mesh stencil. With regular stencils, there are bridges. You cut out an item, but you have to keep the item connected to the rest of the stencil for it to hold together. With mesh stencils, you don't need to do that. You can cut out things, have islands, and the mesh connects the stencil together so you can have more detailed stencils and sometimes more interesting stencils. What's cool about the mesh, or maybe a caveat for some people, is that the mesh creates like another texture. But you can try different kinds of meshes and like get different kinds of texture effects. It's just something to play around with. So we're specifically going to be doing patterns, like textures in this video. I recommend that you use a respirator. If you don't have a respirator, you can cover up your face with like a mask or a t-shirt. Whatever you're spraying, you do it outside. Use ventilation. Get your artwork. So let's say you're trying to make photography-based stencils, someone's face, like a facial type portrait, and you don't have any program or software to edit the photo. You can use stencilcreator.org. You can use online, it's free, and it allows you to separate the colors of the photography, so you can separate the colors for your stencil. I like to use Photoshop. Since this is mainly making stencils for textures in this video, I like to go outside or wherever I'm at and snap photos of like an interesting texture I see, and then modify it in Photoshop, and then like print that out and use that as my artwork. But let's say you don't have money for Photoshop, you can use GIMP, which is a free program, and GIMP is awesome. I use GIMP for a long time. It's great. What you'll need is you'll need photocopies, you'll need your cardstock, you'll need your hobby knife, you'll need spray paint, and you'll need replacement blades and some glue. So all that comes to about like 30 bucks, you know, give or take. You want your paper to be like this, you want it to make this sound. Yeah. You don't have to use Bristol, you can use anything that makes that sort of sound, but that's like what you're looking for. So you've got your artwork, print it out, make some photocopies, adhere it to your heavier paper, your cardstock, and you can just like use some Elmer's glue or spray tack glue, or maybe you've got some like archival glue that you don't want to waste on making stencils. Let that dry, start cutting, and you want to do it on a surface. If you're just making a regular stencil, you can cut on cardboard. It's gonna tear up your blades, but if that's what you have available, just go ahead and use that. I like to use this Rust-Oleum spray paint because it's got a primer in it too, so that way it's like coating your stencil, and that nice coat gets it ready for multiple uses later. So you can just keep it around and like keep cooking. Once you've done your test and it looks good, you don't need to make any edits, go ahead and spray on a second piece for your backup stencil. So yeah, that's pretty much how you make the first stencil. Like you can see here that I'm using it to work on some jeans. But I found like when you're spray painting something like jeans, you wanna put cardboard in there, and it just helps make a better surface. I'll lay down the stencil, go ahead and apply the paint, and really I don't have good can control. I'm still working on that. You want to make an up flicking motion with the can, not what I'm showing you right here in this video. You want to make a flick up and you want to sort of dust. You know, I was just sort of going to town a little bit because really when I'm thinking about making something, when I'm in a good place, I'm just like, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. And I just sort of generate this feeling, and then when I'm making something, it sort of may go in that direction. I would spray, and then I'll lift up, let it dry, then go back for more. Spray, go back, you know. And that's how I made like this pair of jeans that I'm showing you right here. So that is regular stencils. So I've showed you how to make regular stencils. Now we're going to talk about mesh stencils. Mesh stencils are a little bit more involved. They're a little bit more costly. If you already have some of the stuff to make stencils, it's not going to cost as much. But if you just want to go straight to making mesh stencils, it's going to cost you like around $55, $60. But that's saying like you don't have anything. Like you don't have any X-Actos, you don't have any spray paint. Things that you will need: packing paper. I got this for like about $7 at Michael's. Some fiberglass mesh, and you can get this at Home Depot, and this is screen mesh. This is gonna run like about $8. 3M Super 77 adhesive spray. Something additional, I didn't get it, but you could get it, is you can get some like tack adhesive spray that's like less permanent. So you're gonna need a surface to cut on when you're making mesh stencils. This is important because I tried making the stencil 3 times. The first 2 times came out like shit. First time, I was trying to cut it on Bristol and I was just like, this is gonna take forever. And cutting on Bristol, it's cramping up your hand. It takes too long and it's just like, why the fuck am I doing this? The second time I was doing it and I had used cardboard that I'd covered in shipping tape as like the substrate to cut on top of. And as you can see, it just turned out like shit. You couldn't peel up the stencil. It's trash. Don't cut on cardboard when you're making a mesh stencil. You want either a piece of plywood that you've like spray painted on, or you want a piece of like plastic or cutting mat. See here, I'm using this plastic that's the top of a plastic container, and that's what I'm using to cut on top of. The order of procedure when making mesh stencils is you want to get your photocopies. You want to adhere them to your packing paper. Once you've adhered it to the packing paper, let it dry, and then take that and lightly spray the adhesive on top of the plastic top. And then you want to get your stencil as flat as possible. No wrinkles, no bubbles. If you get some, okay, you know, it's not the end of the world and shit. You can just work it and then see how it comes out, make another stencil. You're gonna be cutting, you start cutting, and you'll notice that you don't need to like poke out everything. You're gonna cut and peel. Anybody who's ever worked with vinyl, it's the same sort of process. You've cleared out all of your negative space, positive space, whatever you're cutting, and then you're gonna apply the mesh. So with this, take it back outside. Don't use the adhesive inside and use your respirator because all of this shit is toxic for your lungs. You want to cut your mesh out to the same size as the stencil. So you're going to take the top of your stencil and go back outside. Go outside whenever you're using the glue and give it like a generous coat of the spray adhesive, and then take your cutout mesh and apply it to the top of the stencil and just like even out the mesh. Make sure there's no wrinkles, make sure there's no bubbles, just have it be flat, have it be clear. And then let it dry a little bit. And you want to take Elmer's glue, and then you want to go to all of the little islands, as you can see, and you want to just glue the islands to the mesh, and ideally you want to get it as close to the edge as possible, but you don't want to go over the edge because you don't want to fill in your gaps. Let it dry. You know, if you're outside, let the sun take care of it. You could use a heat gun to, you know, expedite the process of making the Elmer's glue dry. But once your Elmer's glue is dry, then you can start peeling up the stencil. As you can see here, I've started peeling up my stencil, and I use like a little bit too much adhesive on the back. So I'm just peeling it up slow, peeling it up slow. And this is what it looks like all the way peeled up. You're gonna take it outside and you're going to spray the paper side, not the mesh side, with your spray paint. And that's going to give it like a primer on the back. So it's just like building up so the stencil is good for multiple layers later on. So what you're gonna need for the mesh stencils is you're gonna need an X-Acto knife, you're gonna need some spray paint, you're gonna need some packaging paper. I like to use packaging paper. Technically you can use whatever. You're gonna need some fiberglass screen mesh, the kind that they use for screen doors. You're gonna need some spray adhesive, and you're gonna need some Elmer's glue. Yes. So that's pretty much it. In researching how to do stencils like this, I looked at Civ, I looked at Teacher One, and I looked at Sloop. And I'm gonna throw all their names up there. And you should check them out. You should look at other ways of making stencils, compile as much information as you can to make your own method, see what works for you, see how you can, you know, like shave down costs. Thank you guys appreciate that you came and checked out the video. Join me next time when I show you how to make acid wash clothes or do acid wash and a little bit of like tie-dye and shibori. Alright, you can find me on my social media at Tete Pierre, which is my studio, or online at www.tetepierre.com. Alright y'all. Bye.